Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Phay, and welcome to the channel. You know, the older I get, the earlier it gets late. Today, we're taking a look at Ultimate Railroads from Z-Man Games. In Ultimate Railroads from Z-Man Games, 1 to 4 players are basically going to compete to see who can build the best rail lines in, well, whatever country you decide to be playing this game in. Okay, now Ultimate Railroads is either the original Russian railroads, there's also German railroads, there's American railroads, and there's also Asian railroads. Now, I've already covered a how to play video on the Russian railroads aspect of it. Today, what I want to talk about is I want to talk about German railroads, okay, and just specifically just the German railroads piece. So I'm not really going to cover how to play in this video. I'm just going to give you an idea of what the changes are, and then I'm going to give you my final thoughts. So in German railroads, basically you're setting the game up the same way as you would Russian railroads with a couple modifications. Okay, you're going to have a totally new player board. You're going to have a board that's specific to the German section, and it's going to have 3 new lines. Now, one of the things you're going to notice about this one here is the main line in Russian railroads was your top line, because that's when you can put your 2 times modifiers and everything else, and the one that would go the furthest. Well, in this case, it's going to be down in the middle. Okay. Now, the difference between this one too is also when it gets to 8, when you go to the number 9, there's going to be a switch. Now, when you go to play that ninth space with your rail line, you have to figure out which direction you want to go, and that's the only way you can go for the rest of the game. So you can either continue up north and you can try to get your gold tracks, or you can go down south and you can get your idea token, and you can get to the end a little bit sooner. Just depends on which way you want to go, your choice. Okay, but you can still do 2 rails on that one. Then you have your upper line, and you're going to have your lower line. And your lower line is kind of like on the Russian railroads, it's going to give you the one that starts off with the victory points that you can gain. Okay. Now, the biggest difference between this one is what this game has is it actually has tiles that you're going to be able to place on your board. So you're going to notice there's 3 sections on the board that are going to take tiles. You got a 4-space tile, then you got a 2-space tile, and then you're also going to have a 3-space tile. When you go to move a rail piece onto one of those sections, then you have to pick a tile from all of the ones there. So it's kind of a competition to see who can get whatever tile they want, put it down, and now that's how your rail line is going to be. Okay, that will be there for the rest of the game. Same with on the bottom with your 4 and your 2. Once you put that tile down, then you're taking the actions for that particular tile. All right. Now, those tiles are pretty much the same as the what the original boards were. The only difference is when you get to the spaces where you're going to get your bonus player figure, it's not going to be in your color. They're going to be gray. Okay. Because, well, otherwise they'd have to have 4 different color. Nah, you get it. Okay. But yeah, that's the only thing to figure out. Now, there are a couple different icons on here that you have to pay attention to. There's a little blue circle. That's your income icon. Basically, what that one's going to do is there's going to be these, I believe, 8 different tiles. Okay. These are your income tiles that you're going to be able to pick. Now, when you have those in your space, what that basically means is once per your particular round, because remember there's like 6 or 7 or turn in the game, you can use that token, flip it upside down, and take whatever the benefit is. Maybe you get a coin, maybe you can move 2 different tracks, whatever it might be. Okay. Then once scoring's done and we move on to the next round, flip it back over. So you get to use it every round. So the sooner you can get it, the more it's going to benefit you. Okay. But that's basically it. Okay, there's a new idea card. Now, the new idea card is actually going to contain a new tile that you can put above your board that's going to score your rail lines. Now, the thing with this one here is if you take the idea card for this tile and you replace yours, you cannot have upgraded your tile. So if you've upgraded your tile, you can't get this new one. Okay, that's the only thing to pay attention to. So it's going to give you a 3rd option that you're going to have. There's also some different special spaces. There's one that's going to give you another, what is it, the little production, little wrench. So that way, when you go to do your factory tracks, not only do you have the 2 that you can have, well, now, if you want, you can get a tile that's going to potentially give you 3. So theoretically, that end space is worth, what is it? I think 30 points. You theoretically can now get 90 points if you can get all of those wrenches that end. But that's a lot of work. But there's a lot of those new tiles that do have wrench movements. Okay, which is really nice. And I think that's for the most part, yeah. And that is basically, that's it. Oh, the only other last thing is, if you notice, all three of these rail lines can accept the silver tracks, but you notice you only have two of the silver tracks. So what that means is when you gain the silver rail lines, the silver tracks, you have to figure out which of the three tracks you want to put the two down on. Okay, so it's still limited. It's only going to work on two. One's not going to get it. All right, but all three could potentially have it. So it all depends on how you're playing the game. But otherwise, that's it. Okay, you're just going to keep playing the game like normal, round after round after round, doing all your different score phases, and then yeah, once you get to the very last round, add up all your points. Whoever has the most points wins. Ultimate Railroads, German Railroads. Okay, so that's just an update on basically what German Railroads is going to provide for this particular game. Okay, now like I said, there's also American railroads, Asian railroads, and then the original Russian railroads, and there's even some modules. Okay, what I want to concentrate really here is just the German railroads piece of this game, and what do I think about the German, and how do I think about the German railroads? Okay, and I'll do a little comparison to the Russian railroads as well. So Russian railroads I absolutely love. It is a great worker placement game. It is very fun. It's one of my favorite worker placement games. German railroads actually takes it a step better. And I will say I do like German railroads better than I do Russian railroads. And the biggest reason I like it is I like those extension tiles. Okay. The fact that your board is going to change every time you play this game, it's not going to be the same board. All right. That makes it really cool. So that's what changes this game up. It's kind of like going from Russian railroads to a static German railroad. So, okay, it's kind of like that, except for in this case, you still have that split. Okay, you still have that switch. So you can go down whatever track you want, but your board's always going to change around. Okay, and I like that. I like that aspect of the game. Okay, I like it when games aren't so static and they constantly evolve and they constantly change and they're different when you play the game. Now, all the idea tokens, all of the in-game scoring tokens, all that's all still staying the same during the game. But yeah, those route extensions, that's where your changes. And to me, that is the coolest aspect of this expansion. Okay, I absolutely love Russian railroads and German railroads, but I would prefer to play German railroads because of that over Russian railroads. Don't get me wrong, I'll still play Russian railroads every day of the week. Now, one of the things, since I've been playing this game more and more lately, one of the things, and even my group, we've actually had conversations about this, is there are some aspects of this game that are kind of a little overpowered. You think they're a little overpowered. There's always a race to get to them because of this fact, but they're not necessarily things that are going to prevent you from winning the game. Okay. And the first thing I want to talk about is the idea tokens and the number 9 rail track that you can get. Okay, because if you're the first person to get an idea token on the board, and a lot of times with my groups, it's a race to get that idea token on the board because everybody wants that number 9 rail. Okay, once you get that number 9 train, you can just put it down on that, say, that bottom track, and you just put all the stuff down there that's going to get you all those high victory point scoring. Okay, now you may want to put it somewhere else depending on what you're doing, but by having it on that victory point track, you're going to be able to activate anything on that line if you can get your brown line up fast enough, and it's only 9 spaces. So theoretically, it's not that hard if you concentrate to get it up that high. Okay. Now, this is where it gets a little overpowered, is because in order for anybody else to get another 9 track, we've played several games where we've never made it out of the 6s and 7s. Okay. You have to really concentrate and buy a ton of trains. Okay, and constantly just doing actions to upgrade those trains in order to try to get those 9s, which means you're not doing something else. All right, now we have had games where the people that have gotten that 9 train, yeah, they won handily because of those points. But we've also had games where the person that had the 9 train didn't win because the other people were able to maybe get their gold tracks out with the 2 times modifiers. And then when you got 2 times modifiers with the gold and the silver lines, that is a ton of points. It's actually way more points than having that number 9 train. Okay, so if somebody's going for that number 9 train, you know where you almost need to go. And that's actually one of the things that I've been noticing more about this game as well, is the more one person does one thing, you almost know what you have to do to counter it or how you're going to be able to compete against it. Okay, but then again, that's how it is with a lot of games. Okay. A lot of games are out there. If somebody's doing this strategy, well, you got to do this strategy. Okay. You have to do something to kind of counter it. Okay. Sometimes you have to try to block areas. It's hard to block areas in this game, especially when you go to put your worker on the board and you have to fully take that action. Okay. So, I mean, if you want to put a worker down and move up 3 on the green line, but you don't have 3 spaces because you want to prevent someone from doing it and they can move 3 spaces, you can't stop them. Okay. Because you can't take that. You can't do partial actions. And that's the one thing that's really unique about this game. It's a brain burner puzzly game trying to figure out how to counter what somebody else is doing when somebody else is scoring a ton of points. Okay. And it can be done. It totally can be done. Some things in this game will seem overpowered, but that doesn't mean the person's going to win. Okay. It's just, you just have to kind of learn how to play it. But there you go. There's not a lot of difference. Okay. German Railroads plays pretty much exactly the same as Russian Railroads. Like I said, you're just going to get the route extensions. You're going to get those income tiles. Okay, you're going to get the one special validation tile, okay, as well. And then you have the chance for getting another one of those factory wrenches so you can go up that factory line. But that's about it. Otherwise, it's the same game, just a little bit different play. Absolutely fun. I prefer German Railroads over Russian Railroads. I think it is a fantastic expansion. Doesn't mean I'm never going to play Russian Railroads again, but I think it's definitely an expansion that I'm totally glad is in this box and is absolutely worth it. Well, thank you once again for joining me today. As always, I please ask you to like this video on YouTube, Board Game Geek, Facebook, or even on X. Please leave me a comment on any one of those platforms, and I'll get to those comments just as soon as I can. And also, folks, if you like the videos that I do here, if you haven't done so already, I humbly ask you to click on that subscription button and even click on that bell and be notified when I drop new videos. And also, if you like the videos I do here, I also post videos over on the Discriminating Gamers channel. Over there, we'll do some reviews, unboxings, and playthroughs. I'll leave a link to Cody's channel down in the details below. You know, a computer once beat me at chess, but it was no match for me at kickboxing.